Welcome back, everybody, and I'm excited to welcome you to our next segment. We have with us some information about connecting the Tacoma Mall area, and I have Rebecca Solverson, who's a public art specialist with the City of Tacoma, on the couch with me. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I also have Lowell Wise, who's the executive director of the Tacoma Tree Foundation, with us today. Welcome, Lowell.
Thank you.
Now, Rebecca, first of all, what is the Tacoma Mall area? What are the boundaries, and why are we focusing on it now?
Such a good question. So the Tacoma Mall area includes the Tacoma Mall, but it's the neighborhood around it as well. So the boundaries are I-5 on the east side, down to about South 48th, and then South Tacoma Way kind of hugs the curve, the west side and the curve up above. So this area is really important. It's right in the middle of the city, and it's one of the areas that the city has designated as a regional growth center, which means it's one of the places we are driving density. And there's going to be a lot more people living there, a lot more activity. So it needs to be a place that's good for people to live. It has all the community and amenities that we need. Right now, it's lacking a lot of those. So the city passed a sub-area plan in 2018, and the ground is kind of laid to do a lot of good work there to really make it a community center, a place where people and families can live and have connected, healthy, community rich lives.
It's wonderful. I know as I drive by, I'm always seeing something new going into that area, and it's great to see growth happening
Yes, definitely.
in there. As we've kind of seen it go up and down, we're on an upward trend, and I love seeing that. Lowell, now can you tell me about the urban forestry focus on the Tacoma Mall area? What are its goals, and what is the Tree Foundation's role in this whole process?
Absolutely. So the Tacoma Tree Foundation is a nonprofit here in Tacoma, and we focus on the issue of our tree canopy. We educate people and we empower people to plant trees across the community to guarantee a more equitable tree coverage. And the reason we're here is that we've been working closely with the city's urban forestry staff in the Tacoma Mall neighborhood to kind of crack the code of how to make the neighborhood more livable in the future. As we add all this housing, how can we also add green space? How can we reduce stormwater impacts? How can we create more shade for people? And so we received a grant from the state of Washington to conduct some community outreach around these greening efforts and really incentivize people to think about planting more trees, preserving the trees that we have down there, and in the process, improving quality of life for everybody. So we've done a lot of work with door knocking and getting to know people in the last 2 to 3 years, and now we're kind of reaching the end of the program.
Great, congratulations on the grant. What have you accomplished so far as you've started this process?
Lots of things. This grant, among other things, has led to deeper relationships with people who live in the neighborhood. So we have a community advisory group of folks who advise us on what they want the neighborhood to look like, and we take that into consideration as we're doing our projects. From our perspective, one of our proudest accomplishments is the Green Blocks program, which provides free street trees for people in the neighborhood. So we've been able to distribute 75 trees through the Green Blocks program, as well as lots of other trees through our own distribution events. Another really exciting thing that's happened is additional partnerships. So we have a partnership called the GRIT Project with University of Washington and the Nature Conservancy in Washington. And together we are studying the impacts of more trees in the neighborhood. So what's the impact going to be on human well-being? What's the impact going to be on local temperatures? And how can we, once again, just improve the quality of life in the neighborhood over a long term?
Great. Now, Rebecca, how has the Arts Office been involved in this project?
Yeah, so people don't always think trees and art are as closely related as they are, but we're actually working with our urban forestry department as well as part of the same project, and we did 2 artist-led community engagement projects with the goal of bringing the community into this process and focusing on greening and planting trees in the neighborhood. So we asked artists to help us plant trees and think about greening and community engagement in a kind of a different way. So we did 2 projects over the last year. One with Alex Shellhammer, which was a really amazing tree giveaway, kind of an artist with an artist lens. And then you're seeing on the screen here some footage from an incredible project that Teruko Nomura did with a Head Start class that's in the neighborhood. And she actually worked with the students to do some art-led projects, and we planted a little grove of trees, and the students participated in creating a mosaic on one of the pots on site, and then they were able to actually make a wish for the site. So we're kind of laying the intention. Here's some of the wishes on the screen for this, and we did some community events. And so it's a way to kind of get at tree planting and community engagement in a different way that is maybe a little bit more fun to engage with.
So those are some lofty goals you've set for it. And they're working. You're seeing positive impact from these goals with the art plan.
Yes, so we have a call out right now for an art plan for the neighborhood. So we see a lot of investment happening in the neighborhood in the next 10 to 15 years to beyond. As all this growth is happening, we need to be investing on the private side in the neighborhood. So the arts office thinks it's really important to do that in an intentional way. So we're asking, we're going to be hiring an artist to do an art plan for the neighborhood long term, so we can look at how we're commissioning artwork, temporary and permanent, and have a really good connected plan and approach for how we're supporting arts and culture in that neighborhood specifically.
That's wonderful. I love seeing art. Obviously, I love art, period. But I love seeing it being intentional with what we're doing in the city to make sure that art is a part of everything that we do. And we're keeping it alive. Lowell, after working on this project, what are your hopes for the area?
Well, my big hope is that we can continue working toward tree equity. So this is a concept that's come about in the last few years, but it has to do with where the trees are in a city and how are the benefits distributed. And in the mall neighborhood specifically, there's about 10% tree canopy coverage, which means that 10% of the land area is shaded, but our city average is about 20%. And so that means that there's a big equity issue, and we want to see more people benefiting from everything that trees provide, like clean water, clean air, and good mental health, physical health as well. So that's really my big picture goal for the neighborhood. But beyond that, I think just continuing to build on our relationships, the work with University of Washington, Nature Conservancy, I think has the potential to go on for many years to come to study these long-term impacts on human well-being and local temperatures. And so I'm really hoping that we can continue that through additional grant funding, perhaps, and just be a continued presence in the neighborhood.
That's great. Now, Lowell, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had one favorite moment or impact from working on this project, what would you say that it is?
My favorite moment was back in April on Earth Day when the City of Tacoma and Tacoma Tree Foundation worked together to produce a pop-up urban forest. And we actually put it right inside the Tacoma Mall. And people came by and they were able to walk through this installation, which makes you feel immersed in a little forest where you're surrounded by trees and mirrors. And we worked with the Puyallup language program to translate some of the native species into Lushootseed language. It was just a beautiful event, and we were able to give away 250 trees on a weekend on Earth Day, just offering a free tree to anyone who walked past.
Okay, that's a good one. What a great celebration of Earth Day, and what a great way to do it. Now, Rebecca, in being fair, do you have a favorite moment or impact?
I do. So following up on the Madison School project, we planted 5 trees, and we were starting to talk with the school district and wanting to see more trees on that site. And so my favorite moment is when we got the call from the school district saying that we could plant in the neighborhood of like 60 trees on that site, on this one school site. That's one of the only green spaces that's available to the public there. So Lowell's going to talk a little bit more about an event we have coming up related to that, but I just love seeing how the arts have led into greening the neighborhood and this long-term, really important impact for this area that's so important.
That's great. You both have such great stories to tell from that, and I know there's so many more stories too, and that hopefully we all walk away with something from that whole expansion in the Tacoma Mall area to make it a more livable place. Now, Lowell, she mentioned an event coming up. We all love events. Tell us what's happening.
Okay, so on February 4th, we are going to be at that Madison School site, which is kind of a central hub in the neighborhood, and we're going to be planting 58 trees in partnership with the city and the Tree Foundation. And so we need lots of help for people to come out around 10 o'clock on February 4th. It's a Saturday, and we need a lot of help to put 58 trees in the ground because these trees are not very small. So we need people to wield shovels, come out and have a good time and get to know each other. And that's one of the best parts about this work is that trees really bring people together. So we're excited to put on an event and a few Saturdays where we can add a good impact to the neighborhood and also help people get to know each other better.
That's great. Now, if we want to learn more about the Tacoma Urban Forest Project, this project here, the Tacoma Art Mall plan, what are the best ways for us to find things out about them?
So for the plan and for any opportunities from our office, you can go to cityoftacoma.org/artsops, and that's ARTSOPPS, and you'll find more information. We also have an info session coming up on January 18th for that. And that's due on the plan, the call for the plan is due February 8th also, so any interested artists.
Good dates to know.
Check it out, yeah.
Lowell, to find out more information.
So many good resources on the city's webpage for urban forestry. And then also for the February 4th event specifically, you can go to tacomatreefoundation.org/volunteer and sign up to be one of our volunteers. We'll get in touch with you about where to go and when to be there. And we've got lots of other resources on education and tree planting as well.
Great. We have a few more seconds before we have to close this segment out. Any last minute words or people that you want to send a shout out to and thank for their help with this?
I think there are a lot. I want to thank our Streets and Grounds crew, though, who are going to be watering these trees for 3 years after they're put in. So that's another part of it, is we're thinking about how all these things are going to be maintained and how we're going to make sure that these things we're putting in place are actually cared for and they're long term. So I'm going to give a shout out to Streets and Grounds.
And I'll just call out the state of Washington Department of Natural Resources, which provided the funding for this project. And they're also going to be present at the event on February 4th to announce hopefully more attention and focus to urban forestry in the next several years.
Great.
So.
Lowell, Rebecca, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I'm excited to see where we go with this. Coming up in our next segment, we're going to have the Tacoma Pierce County Affordable Housing Consortium. And then later in the program, Quabi's going to stop by with the Peace Bus. We'll see you soon.